Okay, so we have a use case here. Basically, the interview will come up with something like, say, I have a data something like this, right? So you may not have the heading here, but he will say like, hey, I have something data like this. Now I want you to infer the schema. So what does that mean, right? So in Spark, schema inference basically refers to automatically detecting the structure and data types of the columns, right, in the data set. So now you can create a schema using struct type or case class, and then you can assign the schema to here. So basically structure, but then if you want to automatically detect the schema. So sometimes what happens is you will have a data set which has like 200 columns or 300 columns. So it might be difficult for you to actually create a case class or structure for those 300 columns. So in those cases, what we usually do is we basically use a concept of schema inference. So schema inference, basically what it does is it will scan this data. It will basically look at this data, right, each column by column, and see what kind of data is there. And based on that, it will automatically detect the data type, and it will kind of automatically provide or give a schema to it. Explicit. Now here we are not explicitly defining a schema, rather we are, depending on the Spark to scan this data and come up with a structure for it. So that is basically a schema reference inference. So this is very quick if you don't want to write the schema. But then sometimes what happens is you should be careful with this, because sometimes what happens is if you get, for example, if you get files every day, so file one may have data in one schema, then it would have created the schema based on this file one. But if your file two is actually different, then it will create problems for you in the downstream. So that's where, if you know the data, then you should go for creating a schema explicitly. But if you're not sure of the data, or if no, if it is like huge, then yeah, you can definitely use the Infer schema. And I've seen many projects using this Infer schema, especially when you have like 200 or 300 columns. So it's very difficult, right? So what I'm going to do here is, here's an example. So you can see here, this is simple Spark statement, Spark read dot option, where the reader is true. I'm reading the CSV file and I'm providing an option. So this is what it is, right? Infer schema. So infer schema to true. This basically tells Spark, hey, you know what? I don't have a schema here. You could go and scan this data. Based on this, you can create a structure and define the schema accordingly. So that's what Infer Schema is. So this is a very small file, and very little data is there. So it will not have any problems. In most cases, even if it's a big file, you won't have much problems, because most of the time, right, what happens is that the data that is provided is fine, and usually the schemas do not change. Like if they send IDs just numbers in one file, and the next file they don't send in characters, right? So that does not happen. If that happens, then you will have to get in touch with the business team. But anyways, this is what the schema inference means. It will automatically scan the data and create a schema, the Spark. So you can see here, this is the schema that it has created. Pretty good, right? Invoice number is integer, which is correct, because all my invoices are in integer. Customer ID is string. Age is again integer, category string, quantity is integer, it should be integer, price is double, right? Because in some cases, I have like 100.2 or 3, something like that. Payment methods again string. So it is accurate. It has provided me the details. So you can use this whenever you don't have a schema explicitly. If there is too much of columns, yes, this is very, very helpful, right? So this is what the schema inference is all about.